Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Losi?
Here.
Councilmember Stanfield?
Here.
Mayor Long?
Here. Thank you, Sienna. So our first recognition tonight, our driver is not here. I don't know why, and I text Chris Mobley to see, and he did not answer me, so we're going to skip over that part right now and have Brendan introduce our new Public Works Director. No, we are going to introduce our new Public Works Director. Brendan, would you just like to introduce yourself?
I could say a couple words,
Okay.
Mayor Long. So I'm really pleased to be able to present Brendan Bird, our former city engineer, now our Public Works Director, but couldn't be more thrilled to have Brendan in that position. He comes to us with a depth of knowledge of the Eel River Valley in this area, having grown up in different communities along Highway 36 and graduated from Fortuna High, and then HSU, and then working as a consultant in and around Humboldt County at GHD, where I used to work as well. So Brendan has a lot of experience. He worked on a number of City Fortuna projects before he came down, and I couldn't be more pleased to be able to promote him to our Public Works Director, and I think Brendan's going to be a great long-term fit for the city. Would you like to say a few words, Brendan?
Well, sure. Thank you, and thank you for saving me from a self-introduction. I wasn't prepared for that one. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, Honorable Mayor and City Council, and you know, I've been here for about 3 years now, or going on it, and I've really enjoyed my time here, and I can't wait to continue further in my career with the City of Fortuna, in this place that we all love and enjoy, and I really am just looking forward to growing and expanding in this role and taking on new responsibilities and meeting new challenges. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I won't let you down.
All right.
Thank you.
Just want to add too that, you know, Brendan, over the last 6 months, he stood in as acting Public Works Director, so he's gotten a little taste, but we have some of the biggest projects in probably city history on horizon with our wastewater project and some of our interchange projects, and so he's already very deep into those, and he'll be taking on some of the larger challenges that the city's seen in a long time.
You won't lack for challenges.
That's why I like it. So.
Yeah.
So I'm just really glad when we see younger people come into the city, especially the local ones, that, you know, either went away to college and came back or went to college here and just stayed in the area. It's really cool. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next presentation is retail strategies presented by Brookley Valencia. And Matthew Tate.
All right, Mayor and Council, thank you for having us. We're going to get some slides up here. Some of you may recall or remember me from about 11 months, 12 months ago. We started conversations. Retail Strategies is a firm based out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm personally from Northern California. We work to essentially attract retail to your market. So our partnership, for the most part, started with the Chamber and some conversations with Merit as well. And they've evolved. And as we have evolved conversations with retailers, we continue to bring news back to the city or back to the Chamber. And we're really working on solidifying the partnership and getting more involvement from the city specifically as we're getting to more advanced conversations on sites and on just all development going on in the city. We're probably going to put Brendan to work pretty good here in the coming months. So anyways, we wanted to come back and just give you an overall update of where we're at in our partnership. We're about 11 months into our partnership. When I don't expect you guys to quote me from anything I said a year ago, but what I said is that retail takes time. Retail takes 18 to 24 months to make a decision. And so we're at the 11-month mark right now. I'm feeling really good about the interest we have. For council tonight, we can't share specific brands that are interested because loose lips sink ships, but we do have several retailers that are interested in the market. We're trying to find them homes right now, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So myself, I'm Matt Tate. Go ahead. We got Brookley Valencia, who is your portfolio director as well. And then John Mark Boozer came with us as well. John Mark's position, he is the retail recruitment coordinator. His job is to bother retailers and just ask them if they've heard of Fortuna, what they know about Fortuna, and do they like Fortuna. So John Mark does a lot of the legwork here. We're just getting to take some credit for it. So we'll spend a little bit of time. I'll do the first couple of slides and then pass it to Brookley. So the first thing, why we exist. There's all kinds of challenges in rural communities, right? A lot of those challenges can be boiled down to time and resources. You may want retail, but you may not know the first person to call to talk to about retail. The classic example, every city I talk to in the country wants a Trader Joe's. The problem is Trader Joe's doesn't want every city in the country, and so that's why we exist, is I can call Trader Joe's tomorrow and ask them if they're interested in a city, and it's just in a site in a city, and get responses pretty quickly. I say I can, John Mark really can. So we exist to essentially improve the quality of life and increase retail sales tax in the city, and that's mainly what we're working on here. This is the retail recruitment ladder. A lot of times cities partner with us and say, we don't want this specific brand, we don't want that specific brand. This is just an example, assuming 1% sales tax back to a city. If these retailers perform on average, here's what we're looking at in performance. So, you know, everybody wants a Costco, Home Depot, Target. One of the reasons is because they're great, right? Yeah, my wife wants to shop at all those as well. But they also bring in a lot of jobs, like 300 jobs, $400,000 a year in revenue to a city if they perform on average, right? All the way down. And so retail is crawl, walk, run, right? So we've got to land some of those first ladder, if you will. You guys have a lot of the first ladder type of retailers. And so for us, it's about working our way up that ladder. Sometimes you have to get a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General or a McDonald's before you can convince Panda Express to come in, or Qdoba or something like that. So we're kind of figuring out what the retail market thinks of Fortuna, and we're working our way up that ladder. So what we've done so far to this point, we have a 3-step process: discover, connect, and advance. The discovery process, myself and my team, we flew out here right in about 10 months ago. We do what we call boots on the ground analysis. We literally drive the market. You might have got some calls. The police chief might have got some calls saying, hey, there's some crazy people driving backwards, taking pictures of sites. That's what we do. We figure out every site we like or don't like in the market, whether it's a vape shop that looks like a good Jimmy John's site, whether it's, you know, a vacant field, whether it's a brownfield development. We catalog every property you have, and then our team, John Mark, goes back and starts calling all those property owners to say, hey, we have partnered with the city, you know, here's some retailers that are interested, or what are you doing with your property? If we have an interested retailer, can we bring them to you? So that's all part of the boots on the ground analysis. Where we're at right now, in addition to the property analysis, we've also done a massive amount of market research. So I'm gonna let Brooklyn share some of the market research. Some of it's really cool, some of it's kind of scary type of data, but we're gonna share that with you guys this evening as well. We're at the connect and advance phase, kind of depending on which retailer we're talking to, which developer, broker we're talking to. We've been to several trade shows already on behalf of Fortuna. So we've been to ICSC Monterey. We've been to Retail Live in Scottsdale. Probably several others that I can't even think of, but trade shows are just now getting back going. We've got a big show in May in Las Vegas. It's the largest trade show for what we do. So we're gearing up right now for those conversations as well. So this slide looks simple, but it's extremely important. We always say that we are the national experts and you guys are the local experts. Over the last 3 to 4 months, we've really leaned in on this a little bit more and kind of pulled merit and said, we've got to work together closer. We've got to get better understanding of the cities. One of the hurdles that we're going to talk about that we're hearing a lot is developable land, available sites, right? And so retailers are definitely interested in being in the market, but they're having trouble finding where they can go. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But we are the national experts. You guys are the local experts. And so our partnership works hand in hand. So I'm going to pass over to Brooklyn. She's going to talk a little bit about how John Mark has conversations, right? We in this room, we could probably all say, does anybody know the population of Fortuna in this room? 13,000? Okay. So we're going to jump in. We're going to look at some data, how we expand to make you guys bigger than 13,000. We'll also talk about some of the data that we use and why we use it and why our number might be a little bit different than yours, but essentially how we get to our storytelling. So I'll let Brooklyn come talk.
Thank you, Matt. All right, so we utilize the discovery phase to do a deep dive into the market to really understand the data, but use that to tell your unique story to retailers. And so how you might see Fortuna is within your boundary line, correct? But how a retailer would see your market would be by 2 things mainly: drive times and radius rings. And so they're looking to see who within 10 miles can get to our cash registers. And so we are able to create a demographic playbook. And so you can see here, within a 3-mile radius ring, there is a population of 14,000. But you expand that to a 10-mile radius ring, and you're at 27,000. We also utilize mobile data collection. So this is the scary part that Matt was kind of talking about for some of our information. So your phones, I think you might know, are tracking you unless you go into your settings and you turn that off. But the satellite is being pinged every single time you walk into the Walgreens. So this is ran from the Walgreens here in Fortuna. And we are able to see everybody that comes into that Walgreens, and it also tracks where their homes likely are. And so through that mobile data collection, we create a customized trade area. And so we use this customized trade area to talk to retailers about who is coming in to your stores in Fortuna. And within that customized trade area, you can see the population expands greatly. So you're at 42,000. It tells you your average age and projected population as well. As Matt described, we do our boots on the ground tour, so we can only see so much through Google Maps. You know, we utilize it to kind of walk the streets via the internet, but obviously getting into the market is totally different. And so we come into the market within 90 days of the partnership beginning, and we do research to catalog properties, but we always discover new properties when touring the market. We first tour it by ourselves and drive the market for an outside retailer perspective, and then drive it with one of our points of contact within the city to see it from your local perspective. And then from that boots on the ground tour, we create a property catalog in one of our programs. So all of these green dots will indicate a property that we discovered from either our research or our boots on the ground tour. And then we go and contact all of those property owners to learn as much information as we can about the property. And then I'll pass it back to Matt for the connecting and advancing phase.
Thank you. And I meant to say, feel free to ask any questions you guys want throughout this. We're now towards the back end, but we'll get to questions as well. So the connect phase, this is really what I mentioned. We're in the process with a lot of retailers right now. We surround ourselves in the center of all the deal making that's happening. There's property owners, there's brokers, there's developers, there's retailers, and there's the city, right? And what we're trying to do is make sure the city has a voice in these negotiations. And so we'll hear, one thing we've heard is there's a lot of interest in the mill site, right? What we don't have right now is the proper zoning to put retailers there. And so that's one thing that's feedback we've gotten. We pass that back to Merit. Now we're having conversations about what could be done there, right? Could we rezone maybe the frontage of it to allow some retail or some quick service restaurants or sit down dining, right? So all of those things are coming up because we're staying involved in the conversations. Now our job and what we're trying to do, we can't make the deals happen, but we can bring the players to the table to make a deal or a conversation happen. So we surround ourselves in the center of all the decision making. I mentioned ICSC. We're really our Super Bowl, ICSC Recon. It's now called ICSC Las Vegas. About 30 to 40,000 people will be in Las Vegas, May 22nd to 24th. This will be about my 7th show. I'm tired of Vegas, but we go. John Mark will be there to essentially put your best properties in front of the retailers that we know that are interested. We talk a lot about trade shows. Trade shows are big days for us. They turn into about 15 to 20 calendar days a year for California cities. But John Mark's also working 4 other days or 5 days a week to call retailers, call property owners, call brokers, email them. And essentially, a great story that I like to share. We have a fast food restaurant. We work in Clear Lake, California. When John Mark and I first started 2.5 years ago with them, this very same director of real estate said, I'll never go to Clear Lake. Well, we just met with them at ICSC 2.5 years later, and she's very excited to get to Clear Lake. In fact, she said, where else are you guys working? And so we've sent them up here to also look at sites up here. But the moral of the story is, if maybe Merritt or maybe Renee or any of you reached out to this QSR, this fast food restaurant, and heard no right away, you may have never called them again. But with John Mark and with Brooklyn and with our team, we stay on top of them. Nothing changed in Clear Lake. What changed is the strategy that commercial real estate or that retailer had, right? And so all of a sudden, the same exact market turns into a market where we might be generating $30,000 a year in sales tax revenue just by staying on top of them. So that's part of our process. Now, I mentioned 18 to 24 months, right? That sounds like a big time frame. Here's kind of what happens in that 18 to 24 months. So one reason we talk about being national retail experts, not necessarily local mom and pops, is because national retailers are like a flower in a garden. If you know what type of soil they need, what type of sunlight and how much water, we can find that soil, sunlight, and water here in Fortuna and tell them it exists. What national retailers do, they have to let their shareholders know, hey, here's how many locations we're gonna do this year. So that gives folks like us the ability to say, oh, we know Ross is doing 100 stores this year. Ross told us they're doing 100 stores this year, increasing that by 10 each year for the next 5 years. Ross is in big time expansion mode. So our job is to get Ross to at least look at the market, right? And so we're in the process of that. They're going back, researching the market, see what they think, see what properties are available, what boxes are available. Essentially, they've got to make their investors happy. So their investors tell Wall Street, here's how many locations we're going to do. The real estate director gets that list. Here's how many we're going to do. And then they tell their local tenant reps, go out in Northern California, go out in California, find us this many sites. It then goes back to these markets are getting identified. They identify sites that they like. Maybe they like a site in Fortuna. They're going to send it to the real estate committee. The real estate committee is going to present it to the director of real estate. They present a pro forma. Now, this is a big piece that we've talked with Barrett about as well, about that pro forma. If I'm a developer looking to do a Ross here, I can calculate how much it's going to cost me or how many customers I have to make my business profitable. What I can't calculate is when can I open that building? How long is it going to take me to get through city processes, entitlements, and things like that, right? So this is a big piece of pro formas where you guys can really help as a city show that you're truly business friendly, right? So those are things that we're talking about. So from the pro forma, it goes to a letter of intent. A letter of intent is nothing more than a promise ring. It's a good step, but it's them saying, we like you like us. Let's do a little bit more due diligence on the site. It's usually a big thing, but it's not the final thing. Once they get that letter of intent in place, it goes to the real estate committee, and then they start working on a contract and a lease, and then the developer comes in and says, yeah, I'll build that building to those specs, and then you have an opening. So there's a ton of hands that touch the process throughout, and we're really here to help guide as much of that as we can. So some year one highlights, and Merritt might chime in here as well, but some of the things that we've kind of drawn up this year, Strong's Creek. We've connected retailers to the property owner, Mr. McKinney, having great conversations there. We've got a national coffee brand, a couple of burger QSRs. QSR is a quick service restaurant of fast food. That's probably your the most excited site in the community that retailers are getting excited about right now. So across from Strong's Creek. We've got a developer who's a rural community developer who does a mix of car wash, gas stations, fast food. They're scheduled to come up and visit the next couple of days and just kind of do a site tour. Ongoing conversations. At this point, John Marks conducted outreach to over a dozen property owners and over 55 retailers on behalf of the city. In one conversation, we introduced the market to a national hotel that was looking at Eureka, but we got in front of them at a trade show. They didn't know Fortuna existed, and now they'd rather come to Fortuna. So we're working on that conversation right now as well. I mentioned, a local quote. So this is actually from Mr. McKinney. Just recently, he sent an email over to Merritt saying Retail Strategies brought forth quite a lot of interest in development of our site along Strong's Creek. He's pleased with what we're doing. We're again, moving dirt, not yet, but we're kicking dust up. We're getting opportunity. We're getting interest in the market. Storytelling. In our belief in what we're doing, we try and learn from Renee, who's been our main point of contact, and Merritt as well. What story are we telling? We're leveraging data and analytics to understand what your story is, but we also, there's more than meets the eye. And one thing that we've been leveraging is we actually think that Fortuna kind of serves a role as kind of a gateway to this area, right? So for retailers, this is a spot you want to be before you get to Eureka. This is a great spot to pull off. There's great visibility. There's great accessibility here for retailers to get customers. And so that's one of the stories we've been telling as well. Some of the hurdles, right? We mentioned high demand for easy access sites off the freeway. So there's some good visibility sites, but is it easy to get to them? Is accessibility equally as good? Opportunity, we think there's really good opportunity based on our conversations for some land annexation. and maybe some property rezoning. We talked about the mill site. We also talked about kind of the Riverwalk area with Merritt as well. I think there's some great opportunity there to consider annexing. And then some community opportunities, building facade, a little bit of cleanup. Some of the parking lots could be touched up a little bit as well. So those are some of the big discoveries from year one. I want to pause here. We've got a couple slides left, but are there any questions on any of the year one output, on anything we've talked about so far?
Any questions from the council?
I got a comment or a question. I like the way you introduced Fortuna to the retailers and talked about available land and the qualified, the customer base and but have you had an opportunity to talk about what Fortuna is and tell Fortuna's story and bring up the people that make up Fortuna and the value system that makes the community what it is, some of the history, the highs and some of the lows that the people have overcome and
Sure.
work
So,
together?
great question. I think the answer is not to the extent we should. Now, here's one thing. When we go to these trade shows, when we reach out to retailers, a lot of times if a city goes with us to its trade show and they bring the mayor, they bring the council members, mayors and council members want to tell a retailer about the splash pads and about the people and the citizens. Retailers want to know how quick can I return on my investment, right? And so there's a fine line between helping people understand the uniqueness of the area of Fortuna, because this is a unique area for sure. And it gets even more unique from a national retail perspective as we go further north. And so there is some uniqueness and storytelling in that aspect, but I think there's probably opportunity to learn more from you guys to fold that in to make sure we're conveying that message, right? And in some aspects, some areas, you probably don't want national retail, right? Like we told Merritt, man, this is a great site for a truck wash. He said, no, we don't want a truck wash, right? Okay, great. You know, that's part of your storytelling, right? So this is as much, that's where you guys are the local experts saying, no, we don't want a truck wash. Okay, great. We've got some big truck stop gas stations that are expanding, but we'll skip them and let's go talk to people you want us to talk to, right? So there's opportunity, I think, as we advance and go further to say, like, let's make sure this is being told, or how can we tell that in a different way? So thank you for that question, and that's something that we'll push on Merritt, and maybe you can be part of those conversations as well.
Thanks.
Matt, and to kind of go off of Mike's question, certainly you are in favor of increased retail. Chamber certainly, as you're speaking to the city, that, you know, we obviously are in favor of seeing additional retail in the city. But that's not necessarily the case with every citizen in Fortuna. So what is your answer to those people who don't want to see the national brands come in? They don't want to see an inundation of brands that really we have no control over.
Yeah, great question. So truth is, growth is organically going to happen, right? If you take a proactive approach, you can get ahead of it and control some of that growth and say, like, look, this is our corridor where we're not going to touch the downtown. We're not going to bring national brands to this area. We don't want dollar stores. We don't want this out of it. Great, we learn all that, and then we put a plan together to say, okay, so this area would be good to increase, you know, one thing we look at is a leakage report. We didn't look at that today, but a leakage report literally tells you by dollars how many people leaving the community for goods and services by category. So you can tell me you don't want this, that, or the other, but you vote with your dollar, right? And so you're going and you're taking your dollars across city lines for these goods and services, and we're leaking sales tax in those categories. The other thing I'll say is, again, retail just organically happens. And so you just kind of, you want to be in the pilot seat in some of that as much as you can. But, you know, again, have a good plan and make sure that you're uniquely setting these areas aside to say, this is a place we're okay with growth. This is not. We don't want a truck stop. Great, that makes sense. I don't necessarily want one in my downtown either or on my corridors. But what we do want, we want our police officers to get raises, right? We want our police officers, we want our potholes to be filled. We want fire trucks, right? And all that stuff comes with the budget and with increasing sales tax, right? So that's something that I would kind of push back.
Matt, and just one more thing, some of the areas that we're focusing, we look at the city's general plan and when we're looking at these various sites and, for example, the Strongs Creek site, that's designated as commercial thoroughfare with a shopping center overlay. And we're looking at the freeway commercial sites that are designated in the Riverwalk. So it's not like there's some big push to introduce some of these retail chains to areas of the city where they're not designated, but more so, where have they been identified in the general plan and where would be a good fit. And really, one of the things that's interesting about this, it was kind of a new concept to have a retail consultant working for the city, but as we started moving forward and hearing from some of the different types of businesses that are interested, the challenge that became really obvious is that we don't have as much developable site available as would be desired. So, or to say it differently, if we can have sites that are ready for development, whether it be in the Riverwalk or whether it be near Strongs Creek, I think we'd be able to find retailers who are interested in those areas that the city's already designated for commercial development.
So targeting location, type of business, and brand is going to be very important.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. You don't want Fortuna to just be any other national retail city that's got all the same stuff. You want a good mix of local and flavor. That's the heart and soul of any community, right? And that's what makes Fortuna unique. And you want to continue to pump that up as much as you can. But you also, as business travelers, we get off the road to go get, Starbucks, and then we see shots. Was it shots? Hot. Sorry. But it's Siri who pulls me off the road in Fortuna first, right? Merritt, I think it was you who asked the question, what do retailers know about Fortuna? As you guys are going out there and telling the story of Fortuna, have a lot of them heard of it? And the answer is no, that you guys are kind of the lost city, right? I mean, on the lost coast. And so what we're trying to do is just very much through data and analytics and through the storytelling is just let them know that you guys exist. And if you're going to plant a flag in Eureka, you might as well consider one here first because it might be cheaper land. It might be easier to get in. There might be less red tape, and you're going to be supported because people are leaving, surrounding communities and coming here because it's got this great small town appeal, right?
And we're friendly.
And we're friendly. We're the friendly city. That's right. That's right.
Do you have other cities that you're working with within Humboldt County? Like when
No,
you're going-
so we actually, we try and make sure, we want to have a special partnership to where when we hear Mr. McKinney's interested in liking what we're doing, that Merritt can shoot us a text or Renee can shoot us a text saying, hey, it sounds like it's working, right? Like they're happy with this. Like, great, John Mark, keep it up. We've got good stuff going on at Strongs Creek Plaza, right? So we actually limit the number of cities we work with every year in California because, look, if I go work with Eureka, I'm now a competitor of myself, right? We are your competitive advantage. That's one way of looking at it. And to be honest, Renee and probably Merritt stands on this, but they don't allow us to work with other cities. And we kind of say like, hey, I told Renee, like, if you say you can't work with Rio Del, then we won't. If you say we can't work with, Eureka, then we won't. I mean, it's kind of the first one to dance gets to dance, right? And so.
You did tell him that, right?
No, she did not tell us that. But she
may have.
has the ability to protect Fortuna's rights, right? And the ability for us to, now there are some cities where we share borders and we work in both cities, but for the most part, that would be Brooklyn competing against John Mark and we see who's the better recruiter, right? So.
Well, the question was if you were going to Las Vegas, are you talking about us amongst a whole group of others?
Yeah.
Or just?
Yeah, so here's the biggest thing is real estate matters, right? So you may have, here's the thing, you guys have benefited from the fact that we partner with Manteca, California. Manteca's 80,000, a lot of retailers want to be there, and so we have great conversations with them. They say, where else are you working in California, or specifically Northern California? Well, guess what? The developer that we have coming this week, we're working with him in another city, and he said, where else are you guys working? We said, you guys need to check out Fortuna. He literally spelt Fortuna wrong when he reached out to us on Saturday to say, where did you say that was? I think you put Futura or something. But still, like, we went back and said, no, it's Fortuna, and here's the best sites based on what you do. And so again, John Mark we went to ICSU Monterey. He's got a book of your best sites where he's had conversations with property owners, and we know what Chick-fil-A is looking for. We know, again, that the soil, the water, the sunlight, we know what they're already looking for. And so when he's gonna have a conversation with In-N-Out, with Chick-fil-A, with whoever, he's going to say, hey, look, and I've got this site that matches your soil, your dirt, your sunlight, whatever, up here in Fortuna. And by the way, the property owner, here's his name, and he's got, he's looking for X amount per acre, right? And it's like, oh, okay. And so it could be that we also work with Colfax, and they have a very similar property that you guys do. We're gonna show them both, but it's not, they decide where they wanna go. What our job is to introduce Fortuna to 55 retailers on behalf of you guys that you guys didn't even have to leave your, community to get introduced to.
And do you have any information about delivery and traffic and how to get product in and out of here? Is that one
Like
of your-
distribution?
Is that one of your hangups? I mean, one of our hangups, rather?
No, I don't think distribution is gonna be a hang-up of yours yet. Truth is, we haven't really, have you heard any feedback on distribution yet? I don't think we've got far enough to where, well, we have, no one said like, oh, we can't get up there. Clear Lake's a city we work with, that distribution is kind of challenging because you have to be going 53, or 20 kind of cuts around the lake. And so there is distribution challenges, and we've heard that. We haven't heard that up here yet, to any of my knowledge. And so it could be coming. One thing that I mentioned to Merritt is we're kind of at the point where we're going to learn if you guys are really the friendly city, are you business friendly, right? And we're going to find out because we're at the point where city retailers are going to start making offers on land. And, if it takes them 9 months to get through entitlement, if it takes them, if it's a moving target, like they're going to know that, and so we're about to learn how business friendly Fortuna is, right? But those conversations are coming.
Anything else? Well, thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
being here tonight for the presentation, the update. Kind of been wondering where all the money went, so appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, let us know if you guys have any questions based on anything you saw tonight, and we're happy to provide more updates as we can, all right?
And
All right.
what's this relationship look like moving forward? Is it an annual renewal thing, or?
Yeah, good question. So we are coming up to the end of the first year. We have an annual partnership where if you guys elect to move forward, we continue all the conversations that we're having. We bring in new conversations as well, and just kind of it's a revolving, update the data, refresh the data. Obviously, the census has come out, some census numbers, so we've got some different data now. But yeah, it's up to you guys if you want to continue moving forward. And I think Merritt can talk to you guys all about that separately. But we, at least tonight, just wanted to give you an update of where we're at, what the first year went into, and just understand that there's a lot of good conversations happening. We feel really good about where we're at in the partnership. We're not behind schedule, ahead of schedule. I mean, this is exactly what we expect to see. And like I said, I came in a year ago and said 18 to 24 months, and we should have a good win to show. And I think we're right on schedule for that.
The your year two opportunities, that's after the ICSC show.
Yeah, well, yeah, so year two, well, I don't know what specific date I should have written that down. But actually, I think you guys are May 25th or 28th when the contract's signed. So if that's the case, we are going to ICSC Las Vegas on behalf of you guys. So, and we provide you any updates. The shows we've been to, we provide a full recap. Here's who we talked to, here's what they said. And so that would be included. Yeah, it's not a coincidence. I mean, it seems like a very strong coincidence, but I actually think we are partnered through that show.
Yeah. And just to remind the council too, that the chamber took this on and through the Tourism and Marketing Committee and brought this forward the first year. So it's not a contract with the city right now, but we're getting to the point where with some of the interest and some of the proposed site developments that we're starting to have to interact on, to discuss some of the property and some of the potential options and what would be a good fit, what wouldn't. So, it's compelled us, city staff to become more involved at this point through the development process. So I think we'll have a decision to make next year. I don't know what the chamber's thinking, but we'll talk with Renee and the chamber and consider, if we want to continue. And I figured we'd bring that back at another time and just really share kind of what some of the output is from the first year tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
All right, this time we have oral comments from the public. If anyone would like to address the council for any reason that is not on the agenda or even the consent calendar, now would be the time to come up to the podium, and you would have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Genevieve Wilson. After I talk about all this, we have 13,000 people in the city, and Eureka is not too far away. If we want to have new company here, probably cooperate with Eureka, there will be plenty. Like, we don't need a Costco. We probably don't need enough to do that, right? Trader Joe, we need that. So maybe we just have to see what we need because it's a small city. And then mom and pop shop, they like it too. We have quite a few. That make us friendly because we are a small population. And by the way, I want to bring up, everybody should read the book called The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy. Whatever this mandate are happening, and because some people have recovered from the COVID, they had natural immunity, so they don't take the shot. Like the other day, I like to dance. I just live around the corner. I want to go to the Monday Club to listen to the music. She said, where's your vaccine card? And you still have to wear a mask. My point is, if you're vaccinated according to whatever CDC say, you don't need a mask, but vaccinated people still get caught with the COVID and all that. But that means you become a two-class citizen. I'm not a second-class citizen because if I have my natural immunity, and you all read the book, The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy, you will find out what's going on, then do your measure. We should have our freedom, not mandate. Our country, American, make our constitution. And we don't want communists here. We are the republic. We don't want majority rule. Majority rule, that means they brainwash you, that you have more majority rule. So we don't want that. So we have to remember, we all have our right. So that's why I make my comment. Okay, thank you. So no, we don't want mandate, okay? So especially the mask, that's not right, okay? Thank you. I hope you can change that. I don't know who make the decision. Is it manager for the Chamber of Commerce to make the decision for the mandate for the Monday Club? No, I don't know why they do that. But anyway, I saw people, I used to do Irish jig, and they are doing Irish jig with the mask on. Nobody wear the mask in the lager bar. And I was going to say, I'm not going to see it because it's very uncomfortable because I walk around without mask, I'm still huff and puff. And the younger dancing Irish jig. So I should say, hey, let us see the beautiful smile. But I didn't think about it, but I just couldn't see it. But anyway, thank you. And we'll make sure we take our vitamin D, plenty of sleep, right? And always sing this song, one song. Love and freedom, everyone desire. Hate and tyranny, everyone despite. Heavenly love will be back again. If all the patriots united and combined. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Charles Wilson. We watch a number of Chinese news channels, and Shanghai's 26 million people have been locked down now for 3 weeks. And the Chinese government has zero tolerance for anybody that has the COVID, even if it's a mild COVID. They're weird. Anyway, residents have taken multiple COVID tests, and you know the COVID test to begin with is questionable there. But anyway, people are prohibited from leaving their houses even for food. Previously, I heard rumors of them welding the doors shut on these 25, 30-story buildings, apartment buildings. And I thought, that can't be true. And then I saw a video. They're actually welding some of the doors shut. In some places, they just padlock it, make sure that the people stay in their place. They don't want them to get out. And, but anyway, the markets have been closed, and a lot of them are empty, just like here, you know, when you get the toilet paper, the first thing that goes and whatever else goes, and presumably our markets stay open the longer and there's more food left over. But over there, apparently they're running pretty much out of food there. The delivery people can't deliver because they're locked up also in those high-rise buildings. And so there's, people get up, you have these apartment buildings and they're right next to each other, they're short distance apart when you go straight across. If you go down and over and then up again, it's a long ways, but if you go straight across, so they're screaming out the windows and pounding on their pots and pans to make a little noise to sort of let people know that they're having trouble. The food distribution system has completely collapsed. Now, I don't know if they want to have force of revolt or something like that, but after 3 weeks, when you don't enter a skimpy apartment house or apartment building, you don't have much food stored away, canned goods and all that kind of stuff. You're more or less run hand to mouth and that kind of stuff there. And I saw one video, they had the couple of hundred people held behind a barrier, and then they said, you can go. And so you have couple of hundred people just running down the street, anxious to go out and hunt for food before it closes, before they get closed down again there. Anyway, the one video they showed this one guy. I guess he's has lost his business. We lost a lot of businesses around here, with bankrupt and everything like that. But he lost his business. He pulled his, in one of those high-rise buildings, grabs his wife and he jumps out the window. Another one, the woman threw her money out the window and then she jumped out the window because the money is not much good for buying food if there's no food. And the children from infected families, they're taken away and put in I don't know if you want to call it concentration camp, but anyway, in some facility. Like China, America's media hides the impact of the lockdowns, the mental health, the despair, the suicides, etc. People have been abused by politicians, public health officials, doctors, hospitals, and pharmaceuticals. People do not trust them anymore. You're dealing with a big matter where the people, if they lose their trust in all these things that you normally trust in, what do you start doing there?
Sir,
Anyway.
your 3 minutes is well up, or can you wrap it up for us?
Pardon?
Your 3 minutes is way over. Could you wrap it up for us, please?
Oh, okay. Anyway, I was finishing here. Pfizer was forced by a Texas court to release 3 months of vaccine data. But they also said they would entertain requests to release additional data in May 2025. Another one, the courts said, well, if they released it and it took 55 years to release all the data, that wasn't quite adequate. So medical science is being replaced by political science based on money. And the trust in the government and trust in all these other ones is disappearing.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Tom Mulholland. I'm a resident of Fortuna. I'm going to talk about the retail. The wife and I, we've been here for 22 years. We wanted to see about a In-N-Out, or not In-N-Out, I got it, Trader Joe's. The wife and I, well, she done all the writing. Sent a letter to them, and they wrote back to us that they needed a population of 250,000 people in order to sustain a business. The whole of Humboldt County does not have that population. Since we've been here, we came up here with 11.5. Now we're up to 13, which is
Roughly.
quite an improvement, but it's not really sustainable for a heavy industry or heavy retail. Majority of our population here is elderly, myself included. And that's all I have to say. So thank you for your time. And
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment and move on to our consent calendar. We have 11 items tonight, including city council minutes, administrative department monthly report, our monthly reports from the community development department, finance, parks and rec, police, public works, River Lodge, and the report of disbursements. Also a supplemental budget request for the addition of annual hours for the part-time bus dispatcher / office assistant, and acceptance of the 2021 annual housing progress report, to direct staff to submit it to the California Department of Housing and Community Development and the State Office of Planning and Research. Does anyone wish to pull anything?
No.
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent calendar, items A through K.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to city council business. Our first item is a first reading for military equipment use policy.
Thank you, Mayor Long and Honorable City Council. So we're here tonight to recommend that the council hold a future public hearing and conduct a first reading of the ordinance number 22-753 tonight. As the council will recall, last month we began the process of implementing California Assembly Bill 481, which is part of a package of police transparency bills signed by the governor last year. AB 481 obligates all local law enforcement agencies to adopt via a multi-step process a policy on the use and acquisition of military equipment as broadly defined in the legislation. The process began for us last month when the council adopted a resolution accepting my submission of a proposed military equipment use policy. Per the resolution and AB 481, the proposed policy has been available on the city website now for at least 30 days prior to this public hearing. Excuse me. As set forth in the staff report, the process continues tonight with the council's consideration of an ordinance that accomplishes two things. First, it amends the Fortuna Municipal Code by adding section 2.10.150 to chapter 2.10. And second, the ordinance also approves and adopts the proposed policy previously submitted and accepted by the council. The proposed policy is Exhibit B to the ordinance, and it is modeled after the Lexipol sample policy. I am happy to address any questions you may have, but at this time, staff recommends that the council proceed as follows. 1, open the public hearing and invite public testimony. 2, close the public hearing. 3, council discussion and questions for staff. And finally, a motion to conduct the first reading by title only and continue the public hearing to May 2nd of 2022.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone have any questions?
No.
Does anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment.
I'll make a motion to introduce and conduct the first reading by title only of ordinance number 2022-753 and continue the public hearing to May 2nd, 2022.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Sienna?
Ordinance 2022-753, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fortuna, California, amending Title II, Administration and Personnel of the Fortuna Municipal Code by adding Section 2.10.150, Military Equipment, approving a military use policy, and determining the ordinance to be exempt from CEQA. Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Losi?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield?
Yes.
Mayor Long?
Yes. Thank you, Sienna. Moving on, our next item is a public hearing to consider the adoption of various rates and fees for city services, including administrative, parks, recreation, police, River Lodge, and Monday Club, and transit fees. Resolution 2022-10.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. So the purpose of this public hearing is to adopt the proposed fees for next fiscal year and discuss the changes being proposed by staff. Staff did present the proposed fee schedule for discussion with the City Council at a special workshop on March 17th, so I'm not going to go into all those changes, but I did want to highlight some of the action items that came from that special workshop. And those changes have been incorporated into the proposed fee schedule, and those are the removal of the increase to the fireworks permit, the removal of the increase to dog licenses, an increase by $10 to the additional fee if not vaccinated for rabies within the police fees, and the addition of a rehearsal time allotment for the River Lodge wedding package, And then we also are going to remove the CAL FIRE annual training from the River Lodge exempt use, since they are no longer providing some work that they were providing in years past. So the various rates and fees for services have a direct impact on city revenues, and as such, they will be included in next year's proposed budget, which staff will be reviewing with council at a special workshop in May. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and the recommendation is to adopt Resolution 2022-10 and read by title only.
All right, thank you, Aaron. We did talk about this extensively at a workshop previously. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Just a comment, a general comment. I'm really glad that we left the dog license fee at $5 for seniors. It's probably one of the cheapest dog license around, so I'm really glad that we kept it. Thank you.
Go for the big one, get the 3-year license for $15.
$15.
Any other comments? Does anyone from the public have any comments regarding this item? Yes.
My name is Nina Olson, and I live here in Fortuna. And I am a member of the Fortuna Senior Center, and we're an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization. And one of the many activities that we do is the Open Mic Jamboree. The Open Mic Jamboree, we go to the Monday Club once a month for 10 months out of the year. And it's open to the public. It's open to anyone. It isn't just for seniors, but we present it. And all of the local musicians, professional, non-professional, anyone who wants to play comes. It's 2 hours of lots of singing and beautiful music. The seniors set it all up. The seniors provide lovely refreshments and punch and coffee. And it's just a wonderful afternoon, 2 hours, and we use it once a month, 10 months of the year. But it costs us over $1,000 a year to do it. And we would like to request that there be some way that we can get it for less than that, if we can find some help in that regard. It's as I say, it's for the entire community. It's not restricted to any seniors, and it is such fun. And the musicians are calling us again and asking us, when's the next Open Mic Jamboree? Sometimes there are so many that we have to move the musicians, half of them, down onto the floor because the stage is so full. It's a good time. 2 hours, one Sunday a month, but not $1,000. It hurts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Are our seniors one of our nonprofit groups at all?
Yeah, so the senior would be considered nonprofit, so they're eligible for a discount, which I think is 20% for the Monday Club and the River Lodge.
So is that fee that they're being charged with the discount already?
That's right, yeah. You know, one other option I just thought about as she was speaking is, Measure E does provide activities for youths and seniors. And, I know we've done a number of things for youth, but we've only had the bus trip for seniors. So one option would be that we could, to ask the Measure E committee, if it's $1,000 a year, that seems like a pretty small price to be able to host an open mic night, but then the city would see. I mean, it's kind of moving from one pot to another, but that might be an option as well, talking to the Measure E committee. And there's a meeting on Wednesday.
I think that's a great idea, great suggestion.
I was looking for the nonprofit list in here and the organization. I couldn't find it quickly, but
No, we have too many pages.
it's a large document.
Yeah.
I think we would all be in agreement that to add that to our Measure E list of requests. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, so the Measure E committee meets Wednesday, and that's something that we could forward to them for a recommendation. I mean, our staff report's been set and published, but I think it's something that would be good to make a public comment, and we could be sure to express that to the committee on Wednesday. Yeah. Great.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion
Okay,
to adopt Resolution 2022-11 and read by title only.
I'll second
20,
that.
wait, hold on, 2010, 22, 2022 -10.
2022-11, that's what I'm seeing.
That's the building one, we're up one. Go
10
up
then,
one.
okay.
10.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong.
Okay,
10.
okay, 10. Sienna, wait, we need a second.
I second.
Mike second, all right, the other Mike. Sienna,
Resolution 2022-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fortuna establishing a schedule of fees and charges for administrative, parks, recreation, police, River Lodge and Monday Club, and transit within the City of Fortuna for fiscal year 2022-2023. Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Losi?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield?
Yes.
Mayor Long?
yes. I closed my whole thing. All right, this next item is to consider adoption of various rates and fees for city services, including building, community development, water and wastewater lab fees. So I am going to recuse myself since I am part of the building community, and Mike Johnson's going to run this portion of the meeting. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And as stated, this is open public hearing to consider adoption of rates and fees for building, community development, water, wastewater, lab fees, and we have a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Johnson. This is an extension of the previous item that we had, so this is the remaining fees. We also discussed these fees at the special workshop on March 17th, and there was one change from those discussions, and that was to remove the 5.5% technology fee within the building department. So those changes have been incorporated into the proposed fee schedule that was attached to the staff report. And again, if this item is approved, any of the changes will be incorporated into the proposed budget that will be brought forward to you next month. And I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, thank you. And anyone from the public, and do we have any questions here? We looked at this earlier, but has seen some different questions may come up.
Just a general comment that I have. We increased just about all the fees across the board by about, it was 8%. And that seems, with the prior discussions that we've had, covers the costs that actually occur to the city for all of these various fees that we're looking at.
And in that process, we also found that 5.5% fee was not necessary in the initial year for the software, and waived that in lieu of starting in the second year instead of now. Any other council questions?
Questions? No. I looked at the fee schedule extensively, and I'm struggling with this one because I have a heart for the development community, but seeing how prices has increased over the last 2.5 years by about 30%, I figure 8% is something that we can stomach at this point. And I don't really want to subsidize a certain department with general fund dollars, so this is a way to pass the costs on to who is utilizing the services. So as much as I don't like increases, I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
Councilmember Johnson, just one comment too. So it wasn't across the board. So water and wastewater did not go up, and what went up was just the building permit fees by 8%. So it wasn't community development, water, wastewater, and the others. It was just the building permit fees themselves were the only 8%. And then there was a couple small ones that were, or independent ones that were noted to respond to, ADU, there's an ADU permit and SB9 permit. So there's a couple others for new types of permits that are coming through the planning department, but it was only on building permits.
Yeah, and then is there any public comment?
My name is Charles Wilson. On the Public Works there, I was reading their report, and I was curious, what is a dog bone roundabout?
So that was on
I'll allow
the,
either Merritt or Brendan.
yeah,
to
so that
address
was a consent, that was on the consent item in the Public Works report. So it was a different item, but I'll answer the question if Councilmember Johnson allows. A dog bone roundabout, have you been to Arcata, Giantoli Valley West? It's where you have two roundabouts on either side of the freeway, and it kind of makes the shape of a dog bone. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what that
Okay.
is.
I've never heard that term before, but then again, they create all kinds of
It's-
terms,
it's
just
a
like you
Highly
mentioned,
technical.
I supervised the design of 1,008 wheelchair ramps 45 years ago. Okay, then they switched the name to handicap ramps. Okay, handicaps, Time Standard took it as being, you had your cap in hand, which was incorrect because that wasn't the derivation of the word. And then they switched it to access ramps. And so I couldn't find if it was under W, you know, when they put the file under W or H or A, and they filed them all over the place there. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close that. And
I can make a motion and make it the right one this time. I'll move to adopt Resolution 2022-11 and read by title only.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Sienna?
Resolution 2022-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fortuna establishing a schedule of fees and charges for building, community development, water and wastewater laboratory fees within the City of Fortuna for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Losi?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, and the mayor returns.
Thank you, Mike, for running that portion of the meeting. Our next item is city manager's report.
Thank you. So I just have a few items to discuss tonight in my report. One of them, I just wanted to provide an update on the EPID audit. We are reviewing that, and we have an opportunity this Wednesday to meet with the auditor. I will be bringing the mayor with me and the finance director, and we also expect to have the journal entries from EPID to review within the next week. So it'll give us a chance to hear directly from the auditor, kind of what their perceptions are of the audit, to get a little bit more detail on some of the findings, or not findings, but some of the conclusions that they have in the audit. So I think we're just going to be getting our heads into that, and that'll be a good opportunity to ask some more questions. I'm working with our outside legal counsel on updates to the Fortuna Municipal Code, so we have an upcoming workshop in advance of our second council meeting in May, or I can't remember if our first or second council meeting in May, to discuss the ordinance ahead of ahead of the first reading, so that we could have an in-depth workshop style discussion with that. One of the things that came to us, we had a special events permit come in from the downtown merchants, and they're requesting to close down the Main Street from 6 to 9 on the first Friday of every month, starting in May and going through September. And so that's something that city staff supports. We really want to see, we want to support our downtown businesses, and we're excited they want to bring music, have art in some of the businesses, so people can walk through and generate some activity in the downtown area. So it does take some work on the city side. We have to have people work outside of normal work hours. We have to adjust schedules. And so I just want to say I'm really pleased that our general services superintendent stepped up and is willing to do that. With the exception is the July 1st is going to be right in the middle of our event season and right before the 3rd of July festival. So we may ask them to skip that one, but we're just about complete with our review of the encroachment permit. But I was really pleased that our folks wanted to step up and support the merchants and are willing to provide that extra work to do the traffic control. Let's see. And I think one of the other things, I just wanted to make sure, Mayor Long, that you were going to mention the celebration of life for our former police chief, Bill Doberstein. Mayor Pro Tem asked me to announce that, but that'll be on April 30th at 2 o'clock at the River Lodge, and you may have more
2
details on
o'clock
that.
or 1 o'clock?
She mentioned 2 o'clock to me, so.
I have 1 o'clock written on my thing, maybe she changed it.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's either at 1 o'clock or 2
Yeah.
o'clock. But Mayor Pro Tem Trent asked that I relayed that. And the State of the City breakfast will be, it's at 2 o'clock? Yeah. Sienna just confirmed that
Thank you.
it is
I
at
was
2
looking for
o'clock.
it. Thank you.
And then lastly, Mayor Long, Chief Day, and I will be presenting at the State of the City breakfast that is being hosted by the Chamber. So we're pleased to be able to do that in person again. We skipped it last year and we had the virtual one, but thank you to Renee and the Chamber for hosting that. It really seems like a city event that the Chamber puts on for us. So we appreciate them getting that out there and getting the news and selling all the tickets and paying and booking the River Lodge so that the city can share the different challenges and the successes that we have. So. We gave them a 20% discount on the rental though, so. So thanks to the Chamber for hosting that event. I really do enjoy being able to share what the city's doing with our businesses that are Chamber members, so.
And you can buy tickets on the chamber website, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
or in person.
And so we will have other speakers from the county. I think Supervisor Bushnell will be there. I don't think we'll be able to keep Supervisor Bone away. He likes to show up at those, so. It'll be a good chance to hear from the county as well.
That it?
That's it.
Well, you took several of my things I can cross off. All right, any questions for Merritt before we move on?
Well, I'm just wondering with regard to the FBID workshop, you mentioned, is that a workshop to look at the ordinance or to decide exactly what direction we're going to go with FBID?
Yeah, so the workshop, that was a SB 1383 workshop. My hope for FBID is to be able to take a look at the audit, bring that back, and I think that, again, the request from the council last we met was to be able to meet with FBID and have a joint session. So they're still trying to figure out a day that would work for their board to be able to meet with the city council. But my hope is after we finish reviewing the audit that we, consider what the future is. There's certainly some challenges of core areas that some have less participation, some have more, what changes would make sense for the municipal code and FBID moving forward. And so I think that's really the discussion we have to have, and the audit will just be one piece of information that'll help inform that discussion. So we're still trying to schedule and get a time that board can meet for a dual meeting of the council and FBID. And I let them know what we really want to have that discussion. So I'm still working to schedule that meeting.
Thank you.
So my thought is that if they don't hurry up and schedule one, we're gonna have it without them, so
Right.
they can choose to come or not.
Yeah, I think it's important. The implied end of the contract date is the end of the year, so it's important for us to act within the next month.
Okay. All right, do we have any future agenda items that we haven't discussed previously? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to council reports. Mike Johnson.
Well, it's been a rather quiet month of April in some aspects. It's been a really hard month in other aspects, but as far as meetings and such, I think the best thing was seeing the award for our school resource officer, Lindsay Frank, and what she received from the Veterans VFW and American. So she works hard. She does a lot of stuff that people don't even realize she does. And I'm glad that she's recognized for the impact she has on our community and the help she brings on the campus and off campus. And I'm going to be gone for the next couple of weeks, and Mayor Long has stepped in as the alternate for HCOG, so we'll be well represented there.
She brought me homework.
Yeah, brought her homework. And I look forward to hitting the ground running, looking ahead at the calendar for the things we have going, and at the city council, HCOG, and our special event season. And we're already working on some of that. I'll just leave it there. But it's going to be a good year for our special events. And I'll turn it over to Councilmember Mike Losey.
Thank you.
The other Mike.
I appreciate that. I had not attended any meetings since our last council meeting, but I also attended the award ceremony for Lindsay. And it was a great ceremony. She's well deserving of it. I just have to put out there that we are very concerned about the Measure Z money that funds both the school resource officer and the drug task force officer, that we might not get those funds. And I think we need to put some pressure on the Board of Supervisors. They have the final word as to how those funds are spent. And I think we just need to let them know that these two positions are, they're just, we can't do without them. The city can't fund them. We can't afford it. The entire Eel River Valley is impacted by these two positions. And the entire Eel River Valley pays into Measure Z tax. So we should be able to get those funds, and I think it's important that we all need to be together on this and let the powers to be, the Board of Supes, the Measure Z committee know that we need to have that money. Thank you.
And so call the other supervisors. Michelle's good, Michelle's on board. So talking to her doesn't really get us where we need to be, so call the other ones, please.
Call up or send emails.
Yes.
I have left messages on a couple of their voicemail and never received, but I've gotten a couple of emails back, so they will respond to emails.
So that will be on the Board of Supervisors meeting on the 26th, so get your emails and even consider attending the meeting. I will probably try to go to that one.
I think we all should. I think the entire council should probably try to be there.
26th.
I know Mike's going to be out of town, but.
All right, anything else, Mike?
No, I'm sorry.
That's it?
This
Okay.
Mike.
Which mic? One of the mics. Okay, Jeremy?
So, I missed my last Parks and Rec meeting, I apologize. But, there's a few highlights that I wanted to bring up from the staff report that we had in consent agenda. And that was that, they're gonna have their first kids bike rodeo on Saturday, May 14th at Newburgh Park from 10 to 1. And they're planning partnering with multiple organizations to make this a fun event. And then, second, they're gonna have the second annual Pastels in the Park down at Newburgh Park also. And they're partnering with First Five Humboldt. And they have prize baskets. And they plan on increasing the participation. Also, potentially adding things like live music and kids art and other fun zones. So really encourage the community to be involved with that. And then it just amazes me every month that we get this report of all the things that get done behind the scenes. I know I say this every time, but this bullet point list is so impressive, and I thank your department for all their hard work. And then regarding, I won't be able to attend the State at the City breakfast, so I'll be out of town in Sacramento during that time, so apologize in advance. And then regarding FBID, on their last agenda, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but they were agendizing items like basically handing core areas their own money. And I don't know if it's supposed to go that way or if it's supposed to stay with FBID, and then FBID disperses the funds towards each individual event.
Yeah, I think that's one of the questions. We commented on that during the meeting, or I did, and they tabled the distribution, one of them that I was concerned about, to the Redwood Village. So that's something that we're gonna be talking about, and I think is a pertinent workshop item. You know, and really it just reflects a municipal code, which says, you know, a committee will determine how those funds are spent, but it doesn't give a lot of the details on how it's tracked or which budget goes in. So that's something we can talk about the workshop.
Okay, great. And then unfortunately, FBID and the chamber lost a board member. So we have another vacancy on FBID. Appreciate all of her energy and her time, but between work and family, she just decided that she didn't have the appropriate amount of time to serve FBID at her highest and best. So I respect that she knows what balance looks like. So I appreciate Laura Morris for her time and service to our community. And that's all I have.
All right, thanks. So you guys have touched on several of mine here, so let me see what's left. We had an executive meeting for REDEC to extend one loan and talk about new loans, which is really cool, and figuring out there was a kind of a loan segment for cities and different partners through COVID, and it got really convoluted as far as the record keeping, so now they want to go back and have REDEC buy out the loans from the city, and I don't even know who all, anyway, they got a plan, because it's too much paperwork right now, so that will happen soon. I don't know if they've notified you yet, Merritt, but that's coming up. I am excited to participate in a bridging, what's it called? Anyway, it's like a career day at Fortuna High. We're having it at the River Lodge, and we get to interview, and we get to mingle, and we get to talk with all the kids, and that's always a great day when you get to hang out with young people, so I'm looking forward to that on Thursday. I don't know that my business partner looks at all this the same way I do, because I'm not at work. It's okay. Tammy and I got to sit down with Mike McGuire, Senator McGuire, for about 45 minutes last week and discuss some of the challenges that we face as a city with some of the mandates that Sacramento hands down, and our SB 1383 requirements for recycling and the whole Cal Recycle mess that they've got going, and then the interchanges that we desperately need at Kenmar and 12th Street in order to, be able to expand Fortuna. And so it was a good time, a good session. He's always going 90 miles an hour, but he actually, took longer than he was supposed to, and his timekeeper's doing the thing. But it was a good session. He seemed, sincere about helping us get in touch with some of the players, like at Caltrans and different things. So that was good. Touched a little bit on daycare, parks, and different grants and funding. And so that was, it's always nice to see him, whether he comes through for you or not. It's always nice that he makes the time to actually come to Fortuna and sit down with us. So that was good. I'm excited about the State of the City breakfast. So thank you, Renee, that we got that back on the calendar. Really looking forward to that. And we all have, those of us who sit on League of California Housing or other committees, mine's Housing, Community, and Economic Development, have meetings next Friday. You're on one of those, and Tammy's on one of those. So anyway, we'll have like a 3-hour session next Friday. So yeah, a lot of city stuff coming up. I'll have to work at night or something. So with that, I think our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate having an audience, having people comment. It's actually nice to be back in person. I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.